What's up guys, Hades here. I hope you guys are having a great week. It's Monday for me. Hopefully I post this in the next day. I had a 4:30 a.m. wake up for IB on Sunday, so I had no energy to review yesterday, but here I am excited. I've been thinking about these matches and I really want to review the matchup of the week, which was by far AoW versus IMPK. Just for reference, I currently have AoW ranked A tier and IMPK B tier. This list does need updating very soon. I have a few I want to add and a few that are going to need swaps from this week and maybe next week. So be staying on the lookout for that. Keep in mind, being above and when everything hits the right conditions, they have a serious chance of beating anyone. And these teams have potential. I think both of these teams have great potential. And I think IMPK finally showed some potential this week. So let's dive into it. All right, we have AoW in the top right, and we have IMPK in the bottom left, assuming the game loads in. Really important, the start of the game, making sure everyone's going to the right locations. Looking at Tower 1. I'm assuming there's some more here. We'll check in that in a moment. And it's looking like a full ditch from Tower 4. Really aggressive reload here. Well-designed reloads here by AoW, but this is just an overcommittal. They got caught with their pants down, really. And this is the first moment. IMPK's already kind of outplayed them a little bit. They look to have overloaded 1 and overloaded center. And we're going to look at the stats at the very end, but AoW scores way higher, which makes me think the micro of AoW was stronger, but the macro of IMPK was stronger. And this is going to look like a big micro versus macro game. And we already know it's really close. IMPK with, I would say, the start just stronger in general. They're absolutely crushing the center. They should win this within a very short amount of time. And then, in theory, they should win top. We'll find out what happens. I did not get a chance to see this live because I was in the middle of my own match. But what does AoW do with their Tower 4? Because where they rotate makes a big difference, and how many people stay here is going to make difference. IMPK's home is soft, and then the one, I believe this is a sub, comes in defense home, which is very smart, because if they don't, you could just get a flood of these players coming over to Tower 3. I would assume they're going to come to Tower 3. Yeah, they are. Or they should be coming back to middle. And I really like to see this red reload here, because we saw them coming forward, but it's better to just defend your tower because you already own your tower, right? And if you win middle, you're going to be 3-2 from the start. And it's looking like they already won this with an all-in. AoW is getting pushed back. They already got 2 ported. Players moving up. Very high level play here. Filling in those gaps as soon as possible. Going from the back to the front. Very high level play on both sides. Aggressive play. But necessary play. And you don't want to have these players way in the back. You want to move them forward. You want to press up. It was a little too aggressive here. Or maybe the main was just a little too weak. We're going to have to look at this play. I'm not a huge fan of enemy tower dives, because this has to you know, work for a significant amount of time, or it's just never worth it, right? So 1 2 3 4 5 6 versus 5, and anyone who dies, if the minimap works, can just come right back to the home, right? You can see him trying to get back. Even if he gets blocked, he's going to be here within 30 seconds over and over and over. And if they kill anyone, they're dead for a minute and they're back in 30 seconds. So this just doesn't look like it's going to hold for a very long time. And they have to break them. So if they play better, they will break it. But if they don't break this and hold this for more than 10 minutes, like, this just ends up not being a very good play. Back to top lane, it is still fairly close. AoW is holding on with a small force of 7, And IMPK had to shed some of its forces to come back and defend this, which made this a little bit harder, but they still have priority over tower, and we can see the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 players hovering tower versus the 2 of AoW. This just makes it basically impossible to ever take this. There's too many players who can clear the tower within too short of time, because a player like this in the back, by the time they send in the tower, you can hit it 2 or 3 times, and it just doesn't make sense. Middle has been open for a while and no one has actually taken it, which is a little bit shocking. IMPK does have the numbers significantly. They're down to 3 AoW numbers, so they should have taken this probably much longer. Actually, they still haven't taken it. Big mistake, I'd say. This is probably the big IMPK mistake so far, that they haven't taken this tower and they don't have a clean all-in. I'm actually going to go back because this is important. I would actually say from this position, and I'm going to pause it and make a little teaching moment here. When we have a position like this, you can clearly see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 to 1, 2, 3, 4. If you ever have double numbers, it's basically guaranteed to take a tower, even without support active. This should have been taken at least by the 46-20 mark. And if I go back a little bit more, maybe even here, which is pretty much right when it opens, but either really good play from AoW to be actively clearing it, or very poor play from IMPK to not have claimed this sooner. And I'm going to jump ahead until they actually own it. I'm going to be looking at the minimap right here. So it actually takes them a full 10 minutes, which is actually a difference. Like, we know this match was super close on the numbers. It's going to be super tight, and it's going to come down to the wire. And actually, this becomes their first big mistake. So AoW overcommitting to their tower 4 was the first mistake, and IMPK failing to claim central tower quicker is going to be their big mistake. So AoW does outplay them at their home, and now AoW owns 3 on the map, and they're coming back on points. But you can notice they're down significantly. They're down between 8 and 10,000. The margin is changing every moment back in AoW's favor. But this is not long to be held, right? Like I said before, there's 4 AoW members. IMPK has easy access back to their home, and you can see IMPK is already surrounding. They just have to clear these guys and retake the tower, and then this tower is no longer going to be theirs. We can see there's still a strong force being pressed up on the top. They never cleared them. They actually just had to sacrifice forces back to home and slowly got whittled away. They never stopped relocations from getting in the back. And now this is going to be AoW's very soon. I can already see the number disadvantage. It's just too large. IMPK did not press their advantage here hard enough, and now AoW is going to maybe have a brief moment with 4-1. Yeah, they're 40 seconds to 15. And this is now the second big mistake for IMPK, is not finishing their tower 1, not getting a grasp, a full contain of the tower, and then probably having too many here at home. Like, there's only 3 AoW members. They really can't be here for very long. They're all low, but there's still players relocating to this tower. Like, you don't need to be here. Now I see some red dots here. It looks like a small play for the back, kind of disorganized, nothing to really be worried about. IMPK is leaving a solid number of players in the middle. Looks like 6. That seems to be a pretty wise number. AoW is cleaning out this top. Yeah, and the players are really starting to fly. They're all quite low, half HP, 1 half HP, 1, 1, So it's definitely a hard win, and they're going to hold this for a while, and this is going to be a clear. And when you take a tower, you want it to be a clear. It should almost always be a clear. You need to find that perfect balance of when to clear and when to rotate. And that's part of experience, right? The best teams, the best commanders, the best players, they know when to rotate out and when to help and when that doesn't need help, right? So now we have IMPK making very similar mistake to AoW at the start, and they just have so many players at home that they all have what I call downtime. You want to have as much uptime as possible, meaning your castle, your marches, your troops are being used constantly throughout the match. Unless, of course, you're defending. But there's too many to defend and there's too little. And they finally have rotated out a little bit. We're starting to see some AoW members pop up in the middle. I don't know if this is a serious attempt or not, because IMPK does have a lot here stuck in the middle. But we're a little bit out of a stalemate here. This can't be touched. Home can't be touched. Top is completely dominated. Home is like, it's clear. And then IMPK owns middle. Like, this is a stalemate. So now you have to see, okay, who's actually winning? And AoW is at a point advantage by 5 per second. And IMPK is the one that has to make a move. Because if they don't make a move, the game is just over. If everything stays the same, AoW wins. But there's still 20 minutes. And plays can be made. And we know by the score that IMPK is going to make some sort of a move. The question is, where is that move? Do you go for their home with 7 players and an 8th on the way? Do you go for bottom? And that's the answer. We have a bottom play. AoW had about 8. And IMPK is making pretty much an all-in on it, as much as they can spare. It's looking like 8 to 8. As soon as these guys can get up, if they can retake this tower, this is going to be a big swing of points if they can retain the middle and 2 sides. Because they'll be getting 35 to 20 instead of 30 to 25. So AoWs only get a 5 point per second advantage. If IMPK takes it, they're getting a 10-point advantage. And we'll keep track of this in just a moment. I don't think this is a real play here. More just a deterrence or distraction. Nothing's really happening. IMPK really going all in on that play. They're leaving their home almost completely exposed. I wonder if anyone notices this, because if these 3 players, if these 2 with the lines leave and there's only 1 left, this guy's only 3 hits. That's too desperate. I would not choose to do that. And then 4, 5 coming here. So this is the final play. And I would not be surprised if something happens here. There's already a line here. Remember, these are top teams. These are top 8 teams at least. They have good commanders. I've been on both sides. I used to be in 170. I'm currently in 38. I know a lot of these players from a long time ago and from recently, and they know what they're doing. You can see a massive all-in here. AoW still owns it. It's got support skill on. You can see if it goes under 2 minutes very quickly, like from 150 and it drops like that to 1. There's a support obviously in here. But it's just too back and forth. And look how far away these players are sending him from. This player in the back can only go in the tower once by the time someone in the front hits it like 4 or 5 times. But they get it. It's an all-in, and it's a successful one. And that's honestly a little bit surprising. I didn't think they'd have enough numbers. Maybe these players weren't quite paying attention. I actually think that was a pretty big error. If they just kept defending the tower for any amount of time, they just gain points. They're obviously going to lose this over time. The numbers advantage is just too dramatic. But IMPK went all in here. They did not need to go all in, because now we're going to see this, right? They're just completely exposed their home, as I said just before. And their whole play is just completely negated almost instantly. It's taken back. It's again 3-2. And there's only 9 minutes. And now what do? You have to retreat everyone and win this position and get the tower. But is there time? I don't think 8 minutes is enough time to make that happen. I mean, there's already players hovering around the edges. I do like these kind of reloads, having someone kind of in the middle and then to the back, because it's too far to cancel. You can see all the red lines coming back, trying to defend. They need to get this back. If they don't have a support available, then this is absolutely doomed. We'll see if they have one. It doesn't look like they have one. All in, cancel, cancel, cancel. All these players from AoW have to do is cancel. If they can hold this tower for the next few minutes, then they're going to win the game. If they can't block it, the point difference is going to just tighten yet again. IMPK grabs it back almost instantly without a support. They full on 2 minute everyone in and get it, which is really hard to do and quite surprising. But it makes sense. There's so many IMPK players. It's really hard to clean it when every single enemy is putting it in the tower as fast as possible. I have to say, this is one of the most back and forth matches I've probably ever seen. One of the highest level rotations I've seen. Obviously, there's been a lot of mistakes, but at this point, even if IMPK has this, they didn't get it in time. It's 20 to 35, so the 15-second difference is significant, but it's not going to be significant enough because the lead is 4,000. They get this back quickly, but then they completely ditch the side again, and I believe they're going to lose this tower. And this might actually have mattered. 145. They just have to get it 50 seconds. They are going to get it. No, I don't think it mattered. 1 minute. But either way, IMPK needs to learn one big lesson, and that's not overcommitting, over rotating, because they over rotated back to their tower. Once they knew they had enough, they should have canceled these reloads, right? They have plenty of people to block it. And then the play before that, they completely ditched their home tower. If they didn't completely ditch this, they would have also won the game, because then the enemy team just rotates out from the other sides and takes it back. So, in reflection, AoW's big mistake was sending too many players into nothing, which means all of these players have downtime, meaning they have 0 uptime. You could have sent 1 or 3 players here and you would still have the tower. The next big mistake was the failure of IMPK to claim the tower closer to its opening. AoW delayed them for almost a full 10 minutes, even though they had more than a 2-to-1 ratio. And then the last 2 big ones is just IMPK over-rotating away from their home, and then over-rotating out of Tower 4. Crazy match, fun match, very high-level match. I do want to look at some of the stats just so you can see that you can actually tell what's going to happen in a match without even knowing. AoW actually has 11 players over a million, basically 12, and IMPK only has 7, which is huge, which is a massive difference. And the number 1 player did 400,000, the number 2 player did 400,000 more, etc. right down the list, which means AoW had to do so much more to win this game because their macro play was not as good as IMPK. IMPK played a better macro game. Had they not over-rotated, they probably would have won this game. But yeah, this was a fantastic game. I love watching these these intense matches. I know this is a longer one. If you're still here, thank you for being here. Show a little support with a like and a subscribe, and I will catch you guys in the next one.